everyone, Miss Melior here, back with another video, obviously. Today's video was requested specifically by one of my Instagram followers, but I'm hoping that all of you watching can get some good, helpful tips for when you're thrifting. So I'm going to be diving into all of my top tips for secondhand shopping. Now, before we get into it, I want to just quickly go over the different kinds of secondhand stores there are. So you have in real life, which are brick and mortar stores that collect secondhand clothes from people and resell them. You'll have, I call them department style stores, and these are where the clothes will be less expensive. They're typically your normal clothes that people wear, so a lot of fast fashion brands. This is where I go if I need more staple pieces, trendy pieces, more simple items. And then you have specific vintage boutique brick and mortar stores. Now these shops usually have a smaller curation of items. Maybe they have a certain style they're going for, a certain era they're going for, and the owners of the shop will actually hunt down pieces from trunk shows or flea markets or online bids and resell them in their shop. And then you have the online thrift store community, which is pretty similar. You have your department style secondhand clothing websites where people are just selling their own clothes on a platform. Maybe the platform sends them packages and the platform's responsible for shipping and they're really involved. Or it might be more of a platform like Depop or Etsy or Facebook Marketplace where it's more one-on-one and the person is responsible for what they're selling, how they package it, and shipping it out. And then again, you have these vintage style boutiques online. They're going to trunk shows, they're curating pieces, and these items tend to be a little more expensive. But I am going to go through each different thrift store and how I approach each different one with a couple of tips for you right now. To get started, I want to just throw a couple of general tips at you, and these translate to all of the different kind of secondhand stores. And that is, don't be too eager. That's a big tip. Be patient. Have time. Just take your time, enjoy the process, and really look for a piece that you're going to love and you're going to wear and you're going to take care of for a really long time. On a similar thread, don't be attached to one idea. You'll notice that some of my tips include choosing items broadly. So don't try to look for one exact piece and be narrow-minded with that. You're looking for something similar, something that can be styled similarly, but you might not find that exact one piece. I actually think these tips for setting the right mindset before you go thrift shopping translate well in other areas of your life. It's really important that, especially with your wardrobe, you don't have this need to buy, this sort of addiction to having new items. You're not validated by these items. You're not attached to these items. And we want to keep that behavior when secondhand shopping. And it's just a slower pace, just like we're going for slower fashion to keep as you're secondhand shopping. And the last general tip I have is to just be proud. I think for many, many years, there was a stigma around secondhand shopping. It was seen as being only for the underprivileged. It was seen as maybe dirty, for grandmas. I don't know, it's had a bad rap, but it is something to be proud of because what you're doing is sustainable and it's much better for the environment. So let's jump into my top tips for shopping in real life at a department store style secondhand shop. These shops are typically bigger and they're organized. The ones I've seen a lot, at least, are organized into color. They might be organized into material, so you'll see all the denims together, you'll see all the cottons together, you'll see men, women's, children's shoes. They're pretty departmentalized. Is that a word? No. Compartmentalized into departments. What am I even saying? They're really well organized, and because of that, I like to know exactly what I'm going for when I walk into one of these shops. So my first tip is to have a list. I like to write my list down. I'm a handwriting person, but of course you can just type it on the notes in your phone, or you could just keep it in your head if you're really intelligent like that. Or you could even have a visual list. For example, I like to keep a Pinterest board with different ideas of things that I'm going for. Now, the key with these lists is to not be so specific. So like I said previously, our lists are going to be a bit general. So it's not going to be something like shirt from H&M collection 2019 spring summer week 48 because Lord knows they have a new collection every week. But it's going to be, that made no sense. What I'm trying to say is it's not going to be a specific item, really poorly explained. It's going to be something more like yellow top, 90s vibe. And so you go directly to the yellow section and you start looking for tops that have a 90s vibe, like what you're looking for. Now, you don't exactly know if that's going to be a tank top with a butterfly print on it or puff sleeves, something like this. Whatever it is you're going for, you'll pull off all the ones that have potential, go to the changing room, try them on, and leave with the best one, or check out a couple different stores in your area and pick the best one out of all of those. Going along with the Pinterest board idea, this is not only as a list for things that you want to buy, but also for ways to style items. So I actually keep a street style board, and what I like to do is look at items that I know I can find easily in a thrift shop, but style them in a more cool, fashionist, more stylish way. I'm really struggling to talk today. I'm really sorry. Okay, let's try to do this right. I keep a Pinterest board
with items that I know I can find easily in a thrift shop, but I can style them in a way that's cool and trendy, and I didn't realize I could style it before, so I might have just overlooked a piece at a secondhand shop as just being another secondhand item. But after being inspired from an image on Pinterest, I'm like, oh, I can actually style it like Haley Bieber did or whatever and make it cool.
This tip goes a long way, and this is know a few tricks to revive and fix up pieces, maybe shoes or clothes, and a few tricks for resizing. My video next week is actually going to be all of the tips I know and have gathered for making secondhand or just old clothes in your wardrobe look new again. So stay tuned for that video. I'll link it in the description if it's out already when you're watching this so that you can check out that video, save those tips, and when you're secondhand shopping, if you see something that's not quite right, you'll know how to make it perfect. The last tip with IRL department style secondhand shopping is to be open and be patient. I touched on this in the general tips, but especially in these department stores where there's just so many different options and there's quite a lot of these large secondhand depots, go to a few of them. And what I mean by be open is, for example, I was looking for a pair of summer sandals and I just wanted them to be flat. I found this really cute pair that had the espadrille bottoms, like this rope styled platform, and I loved them, but they were just a little bit too big and they were in black and I thought black was perfect. But again, they were just a little bit too big, and I found another pair in the same store that were blue and they fit me well. So it was a trade-off, but I was open to it, and blue is not that different from black. So that's what I mean when I say be open. Okay, so tips for the in real life vintage boutique shopping. The first tip I have is to have an open mind. These stores are so much fun to just go into without having a list. That's why it's different from department store shopping, because in these stores, you just don't know what you're gonna find. I would say try on everything. In the secondhand stores that are more department style, I can get away with not trying items on because a lot of it is just fast fashion and I know my size, or I know a few tricks for resizing it, or it's something I'm upcycling. But in the vintage boutiques, I try on everything. And I mean everything, even if it says it's your size, it's from a different era and sizing has changed over time. And it's not a piece that you want to be messing with too much because it's going to be a bit pricier. It's going to be really high quality and you want it to just fit you well. So try on everything. I touched on the fact that these vintage boutiques are a little bit pricier. And so I like to go in with a budget and just a plan. Something, for example, like I'm going to spend no more than 13 euros on one piece, or, you know, maybe I'll be splurging. I'll say, okay, I have 40 euros to spend, whether that's on one piece or two or three or some jewelry. But I like to know what my limit is, because when I go into these special vintage boutique style stores, I really get swept away by all of the magical things that are in there, and I have to keep myself in check. So go in with a budget plan. Lastly, I would say make an experience out of it. Make it a day. I like to bring in a nice coffee with a friend and we just rummage through the different racks and pull out different pieces that are just so beautiful and unique, try them on together, decide what looks good on each other, and really make it just a fun experience. Okay, now I have a few tips for when you're shopping online at department style stores. I'll actually leave a list here of online stores that are like department style that I like to check out. And I like to actually open them up on my browser all at once, and I'm checking different places at the same time. So tip number one is browse various stores at the same time for the same item. Again, you might find something that you like more on a different site, or it's a better price something like this. And then the second tip for the online department store style secondhand shops, I would say, which is the opposite of when it's in real life, I would say go for specifics. So if I know that I want a beige bucket hat, I will type that in and that's exactly what I want. And you typically have a lot more options because it is online. They can come from so many different places. So I try to be as specific as possible when I'm detailing a search. Neon blue heels, size UK 5, wrap skirt with ruffles, plaid, whatever. So just be super specific. And then some tips for the vintage boutique style when you're going online is to always ask for measurements. It's the same thing, same reasons for why you try on all your clothes in the vintage boutiques in real life. But of course you can't do that when it's online, so you want to make sure that those measurements are going to match. And I mean, don't just ask for size, because like I said previously, sizing has changed over time. So you really want to ask for specific measurements, learn how to measure yourself in your bust, your arms, your waist, hip, etc., and make sure that it will fit you. The second tip for online vintage boutiques is to ask the owner or the seller where they source their items. A lot of times the answer is going to be, like I mentioned previously, trunk shows, trade fairs, flea markets, online bids. You don't want shady answers, and you definitely don't want to hear something like Alibaba or AliExpress because it probably means that it was made in the style of a vintage piece, but it's not actually secondhand or pre-loved. It could be just made new in the same style, and that's not sustainable. That's not what we're going for. And lastly, always ask them for extra pictures or to disclose signs of wear. Of course, when you're buying secondhand, there's going to be signs of wearing. These don't have to be horrible stains or rips or tears, but it could just be like a little bit of fraying, maybe one button's not sewn on as well as it should be. You get to decide when you ask them to disclose these things, if it's something that you are prepared to fix or just wear and love anyway, or if it's really not what you're interested in which case leave it for someone who will fix it up and who will wear it. Okay, lastly, I have some tips for one-on-one shopping. So this is platforms like Depop, Facebook Marketplace, when it's just average people trying to sell some stuff from their wardrobe to make a bit of extra money or clear out a bit of space in their wardrobe, and you want to message them and buy something that they have owned previously. So the first tip I have is to always ask for extra photos. I like to specifically ask for photos of any areas that they think I wouldn't want to see. I'm going to see the item, hopefully, if they're in the same city as me, I'm going to see the item in person anyway, but especially if they're not living in the same city as me and they're sending it to me, I politely ask them to send me the bottom of the heel, if it's a shoe, or places like armpits, places that get a lot of wear. And again, if I think that the signs of wear are something that I can deal with, then I'm grateful that I saw them and I can make the decision fairly. But if there's something that I'm not happy with, I pass on the opportunity and leave it for someone who will deal with it. The second tip I have for when shopping one-on-one with just another person is to always ask why they're selling the item. This will give you a bit more information about the item, and it might be useful when deciding if you want to buy it. For example, it might be something like, oh, it's a UK 5, but it's narrow fit. And if you have wide feet, that's not going to work for you. I've had a lot of funny answers over the years, but I think my favorite one is I wanted to buy a pair of black loafers, and I was really excited to get them. And when I asked the girl, while I was trying them on, I actually met her in person, I asked her why she was selling them. She said, I thought they were going to be really cute, but they're actually super ugly. I thought they were so cute and I bought them on the spot. So it just goes to show that people have different reasons for selling things, and it's just good to have that extra information. I also find it a little bit entertaining, so that's my second tip. Thirdly, always negotiate price. When you're dealing with another person and not a business, they're usually more lenient to lower the price. You might also discover that there's someone else who's interested in the item and you're actually okay with spending a bit more to outbid that other person. And people typically overvalue items that they already own. Even if they're trying to sell it, it's a psychological thing. So you'll probably be able to talk them down to a price that's better for you. And fourthly, if you can meet this person, if the person selling the item is in your city, meet them at a safe place with a bathroom or somewhere to change. Try on the item, walk around in them if they're shoes, really examine how it fits and feels before deciding that you want to buy it. I want to end this video with the most important tip, and that is to be excited about each new piece that you're bringing into your wardrobe. Be proud that it's secondhand and don't treat it as disposable. Show it off, wear it over and over again, and keep it alive for as long as possible. Which again, I will extend upon in next week's video. It'll be all about easy ways to revive old clothes or shoes. So stay tuned for that because it really helps when thrifting to know a few simple tricks for making fixes or resizing items. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments below. Follow me at Miss Melior on Instagram for more, and I will see you guys in my next video. Ciao.